From the kitchen of the cabin and around the world, this is Voices from the Solitude, a podcast about the coronavirus and gaming. Today I'm talking to Luke Pryor. We talk about the challenges of board game retail in these times. So I'm here with Luke Pryor, and I got Luke on because Luke is an ex-board game shop professional, and so you worked for Zatu, yeah? Who are they, and kind of what do they do?
Well, Zatu, as a general rule, is one of the biggest online retailers of board gaming in the UK. And they wanted to have a brick and mortar store, kind of break the mold in the online realm of things. And they opened a board game cafe, and I was the man that did that.
And so what were your responsibilities there, and what were the particular challenges, and what was enjoyable and what not so enjoyable when you were working there?
Well, I mean, the enjoyable aspect of it was certainly a new challenge. I've always liked challenges, and getting to start something from scratch was certainly something that appealed. Being told I had free reign was appealing to me, whether reality was slightly different or not. It was, the idea of also Norwich, where it is currently based, has a really good board game community, and that seemed to be an awesome thing to get into. The real thriving community, and that was definitely to be a part of that. Sounded like a great fun idea. So
you've worked in board game retail, you've worked in a board game cafe. What kind of margins are they talking about there? Is it a very profitable business, or is it run very, very close to the wire?
No, the flat answer is no, it is not profitable. Well, I mean, it's profitable, but the margins for board gaming retail straight up the bat are so slim. You're looking at kind of about 5 or 10% is profit on a game, but then when you take into account all the overheads and everything like that, you're talking about very, very, very small margins. But obviously Zatu had the online aspect of it, so they, that's why you have to sell quantity, and that's something they do, and they do very well. The benefits of having a cafe is that your margins are considerably better. I mean, take for instance, I've worked in food and beverage most of my career and retail and in various ways. So, like, take for instance a cup of tea. Right, if you take just the base products, a cup of tea costs about 0.7 of a pence. If you're buying your tea bags or whatever in a certain amount. So if you sell a cup of tea for £1.50, which is a completely reasonable price, your profit margin is absolutely insane. So certainly with my intention, the board game cafe was always essentially really just a face and a place for Zatu to sort of call home in the brick and mortar world, and it would make its money via the food and beverage side of it. And it was sort of another access and route to the websites. People could do like a click and collect service and stuff like that. And it was a nice place to build some community around the business and not just be a faceless website that just sells you games at a good price, So yeah, I mean, the margins, I really feel for board game retailers out there, because I really don't know how they manage it sometimes, because they are running on an absolute shoestring.
And so I was speaking to another game cafe owner earlier today, and they were saying that board game cafes sort of buck the trend of what food and beverage retail does, in that in food and beverage retail, you want to get people turned over as quickly as possible, which is kind of not what you want to do in board game cafes. How do board game cafes manage it with regards to, because you want people to feel welcome to play games in there, but if people are playing Twilight Imperium, well, that's a table taken up for 6 hours, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to the food, the beverage side of it. If you go into food and beverage retail, um, the markup on it generally in like a restaurant, say, would be 70% markup on all food, but 100% markup on all drinks. Even in a restaurant, drinks is where they're really making the money out of you, rather than the food aspect of it. So it's no different really in a cafe sense. It's a bit more like the pub aspect of it, and they just want you there to stay drinking. Because that's just money hand over fist, coffee and tea cost next to nothing, and even in the soft drink retail margin side of it, you're still making really good money out of it.
Being a sort of ex-professional in the gaming world and having worked in retail and food and beverage, how much do you think that game retailers and game cafes are suffering at this time?
God, I mean, suffering, I don't even think is the word. I mean, it's trying to keep their head above the water. I mean, unless they were, had a decent bank balance at the time, I really, really feel for everybody out there. I mean, I work now currently in the restaurant industry, and we closed immediately based on just the advice. We weren't like a lot of companies where we waited until we were told. It was straight away, day one, from the Monday onwards, we were shut. And that was luckily because I work for a very good company who said, well, we'll back you guys. We'll make sure you're okay. And luckily the government backed them up too. But like, I mean, these cafes that they may have only 2, 3, 4 people, but like I said, they're running on such shoestrings. I mean, they're often quite big, large spaces. So the overheads for that price of space is quite high, and there's not too much they can do. A lot of companies are being quite proactive with like doing click and collects and takeaway services and this and that. And there's not a lot a board game cafe can do to bring in some money in this weird time. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's like a soldier in the trench. You're just ducking down and hoping you're avoiding the bullets, and you when it all goes quiet, you come out of the other side of it okay, and I feel for everybody out there who's having to deal with this, because scary time in that sense.
What would you recommend? So firstly, I guess my question is, because this has been a debate in gaming since I've been in gaming, sort of how important are the FLGSs? And if we do consider them important, what do you think we can do to kind of help them at the moment? Or is there anything we can do?
I would say there's an element of help them and them helping themselves. My logic would have been, if I was just running the cafe and it wasn't for Zatu, which is obviously an online retailer who's still running at this time, they put out a big thing to their customers basically saying, just bear with us, we're running on lower staff, blah blah blah, we will get your stuff to you. So take that out to the equation. If I was just running the cafe, what I probably would have done was try and change my website and put that stuff out on social media saying, look, what I could do is I could do some sort of like click and collect where you can come and buy your games, or you can like pre-order them and I can set them aside for you. So when this is all over, boom, they're done. And what I would like to think is that basically they just need to hold on, because I think some of the good things you've seen come from all this is a lot of people being very vocal about big, massive companies who have like tried to screw their staff and their companies, like the Weatherspoons over here, and Mike bloody Ashley with his scumbag tactics of, oh yes, we're essential at Sports Direct because everybody needs a bloody no fear sweatshirt when it's the apocalypse is happening. And a lot of people I'm seeing on social media are posting things about like, remember, don't forget these things when we all come out the back end of this. Remember the people who were helping the NHS, who were doing this and doing that. And my advice to people would be, remember your FLGS. The second we're allowed back out the house, get out there, spend a bit of money, throw the dog a bone, and just help these people out. Because if they have come out the back end of it, they are in no way in good shape. They are going to be like Rocky at the end of Rocky 1. They may have won and they got to the end, but they are beaten and bruised and they need help, So my advice to people would be, get out there and help them, just straight in the door, buy something, anything. And just kind of, I would also say, if you really are engaged with your FLGS, let them know, send them a Facebook message, share the word on your social media about these people and just say, look, when we're out of this, come down and help them out, get a game night organized and ready for it and stuff like that. It's all sort of who knows and when will it be, but it's about jumping on it when it's back, don't kick your heels, get out there and give them what you can, what you can as well, because obviously everybody's going through a tough time at this point,
Brilliant. Well, to end then, we were chatting before we started recording, and I asked you how you were, and your response was different to a lot of the responses I've got when I've been doing these interviews. So, how are you coping with the social distancing, and sort of how are you feeling at the moment?
Well, to be honest, I'm loving it. I mean, other than the fact I miss my colleagues at work and I miss maybe a bit of routine. One of the reasons I left Zatu was because it was taking me away from my son and my daughter and my wife, and they are literally my everything. So the fact that I'm spending literally so much time with them, none of them are at school. We're trying to do stuff to entertain ourselves and engage ourselves and I'm loving that challenge of just trying to keep my son entertained, keep myself entertained. I mean, we're getting so much stuff done around the house. It's ridiculous. And I'm just doing loads of cool stuff with my son and, helping him do a bit of homeschooling. And, we're not going over the top on everything. We're just trying to get through every day as it is. And other than maybe a day or two here or there, so far it's all good. It's all been really good fun. I mean, we're lucky we've got a nice big house with lots of cool stuff in it to entertain ourselves. And yeah, I mean, I kind of stepped away from my career when I left Zatu, and I took myself right back to out of management and everything like that, because I realized I'd realized that my priorities weren't in the right place anymore, and my priority was my son and my daughter and my wife. And I took a considerable pay cut, to do that. But the reward I've had since has been exponential. And this social distancing has only exacerbated that even more and made me realize, how much this quality time is going to mean to me at the end of it all. And I think a lot of people are going to come out the back end of it as well with a very, very different outlook on life. And realizing that actually there's if you're lucky enough to be in a house with family or friends and loved ones and stuff, you're gonna realize what amazing time you had and just all these weird and wonderful things you did to keep yourselves entertained, and also with Tabletop Simulator and this and that, I've played more board games and so forth than I've played any other day of the week. And my son is 6, so he's a sort of burgeoning board gamer, and so he's loving it as well. It's fantastic. I get to play. It's people are making the time to play games with each other online when they could have any other day of the week. But instead of sitting and just watching, Celebrity Love Island or some other nonsense that just melts into their brain, they're going, oh no, I'll go upstairs, I'll go on the PC and we'll have a game of Tricarion or whatever, and I'm loving the fact that through the social distancing, people are actually remembering everybody else out there and around them and engaging with everybody. I think it's amazing.
If you want to support content like this, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and if you can, stay at home.